Hello, hello. So this is video 2 from the Heart-Based Voice video series that I decided to start doing to share my story of my journey from divorce to singlehood again in my 50s. So anyway, the first video I did, I was talking about speaking up and telling my truth and standing up and finding my voice and telling what really happened. So then I go to do the second video last night, and I'm so excited to tell you this. I started doing the second video last night, and it felt horrible. I started feeling like, I can't do this. Why am I doing this? I can't do this at all. I'll never be able to tell the truth. And then I started to try. I tried like 10 times, and it never felt real. It didn't feel like me. And so I didn't do it. So I realized that what I was actually doing was trying to force something and trying to tell a story that I don't want to tell anymore. So now that I've decided to tell the truth and tell my story, it's almost like I was caught in the middle of wanting to tell my story and having to tell my story again. And at that moment, I felt this revelation, like this shift. And the shift is that I'm tired of telling my old, worn out story. I'm tired of telling my story about him. I'm tired of telling his story. Whenever I was telling my story, I was telling his story about his problems and how he was affecting me and what he was doing to me. And I was telling a victim story. And I don't want to tell that story anymore. That's my old story. So what I realized was when I said that on my first video that I wanted to tell the truth and tell my story, I started feeling burdened about having to tell the story again. And I realized that's not me. I want to tell my story. I want to tell my story of me, of my forgiveness, of my gratitude, of my growth, of my experiences in my own energy, in my own space. And I've been so amazed at what I have been able to do in my own energy without outside negative influences. So anyway, part of what I want to do in these videos is share some of my journal entries. And I know that might sound weird, but I've been journaling for years, and I have like volumes of them, right? To chronicle how I made my decision to leave my 32-year marriage, because there was so long of a period, years, where I was like, do I stay, do I go, do I stay, do I go? And making excuses to stay and all that. And I've just been journaling how I came to those realizations about making the decision to leave. And then how I started over again in my 50s and how everything has unfolded to me when I chose to follow my intuition. Like people just started coming into my life and opportunities started to come into my life. So anyway, that's part of what I want to share because that's the whole reason I want to do this. So, I don't know yet how to tell my story without telling his story. Isn't that interesting? Because I was focused on my ex-husband for so long, and not only him, but other people in my past too, my father, other people, anybody else besides me. And so I was focused on other people for so long that I don't know how to focus on myself, or I didn't know how to focus on myself. So I'm going to figure out how to tell my story without telling someone else's story. Kyle Cease is a great transformational teacher that I follow. And he always says, and I'm reading from my journal right now because that's what I want to do. Kyle says, and this is what I wrote last night after I couldn't do the second video. I just meditated and this is what I came up with. Kyle Cease says, don't worry about the hows. They will take care of themselves when you stay with the whys. So I'm not worried. I'm not going to worry about how I'm going to tell my story. But I know the whys. And the whys are that I want to continue to grow and I want to continue to heal. And telling my story does that for me. But as I grow and heal, the more I grow and heal and connect with myself, the more I can help other people because the more honest I can be. And then I wrote, this is so exciting. So telling my story doesn't have to mean telling my old story. It doesn't have to be a rehashing of wrongdoings and traumas. Yeah. It can be an account of what inspires me to share now and include the stuff that I experienced in my past. My story can come up in the space of the present moment I live in now. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh my God, this is like such a revelation to me. What I realized is, too, that maybe I don't need to tell my old story anymore because I realize that I can. And I have the space to do that now. So that's what I'm going to do, is figure out how to tell my story from my perspective. And I want to say, too, that when I talk about things that happened and how things unfolded and how I started my life over again, other people that I mention in these videos may not have the same perspective on things that I do. Of course they won't, because it's from their experience, not my experience, and I'm only speaking from my experience. And the other thing I want to say is that, when the reason I couldn't do this, I've been divorced I left my husband, I think, 2 years ago. And the reason I wouldn't have been able to do this then, and I can do it now, is because now I've come to enough healing where everything that I say about everything that happened in my life is coming from a place of love, compassion, understanding, gratitude, appreciation, wonder of how everything has been perfectly orchestrated for my growth, and I think for everyone's growth too. So anyway, this was video 2. I don't need to tell my old story, but who knows what I'm going to tell. Stay tuned to find out. So my website is called A Heart-Based Life, and follow that. It's got blogs that I've been blogging for the last couple of years about ever since my transformation from divorce into starting over again in my 50s. So, okay, video 2's down. I'll see you tomorrow.